Newspaper Review on the WFM 91.7. The conversation here this morning. To be part of this conversation, do well to send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 317 56537 to be part of the conversation here on the radio. Still coming from Mr. President, how we will prevent another NSAS protest by President. And I feel funny with the way all of the papers sort of put the headline, make it sound like a threat somehow, instead of like. But let's get into the details of the story. President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday said the federal government will carry youth along in policy formation and implementation to prevent a reoccurrence of the issue that led to the NSAS protests. He spoke during the National Security Council NC meeting held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Minister for Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, briefed on the deliberation. According to him, the council is concerned about the worsening security situation in the north and emphasized the need to better equip the police. He also says here the meeting note with concerns the increasing cases of armed banditry, particularly in the northwest and the northeast. The meeting agreed to be more proactive in dealing with the situation in a more decisive manner. The meeting noted that they need to pay greater attention to the police in the discharge of its functions to maintain peace in the country and in the area of equipment and modern technology. Mr. President assured Nigerians that he will do whatever it takes to ensure the repeat of NSAS protests does not occur in the country again. He reassured them that all stakeholders would be involved in the process of maintaining peace in the country, particularly the youth, community leaders, traditional rulers, politicians, public servants, religious leaders, and others. The federal government will continue to maintain humane Minister for Police Affairs. That's a Mohammed Dingyadi. Also, I have, when I was talking about this NSAS, the headlines across all boards, the papers framed the headlines in not totally what the content, it made it look like, oh, okay, there was some argument like, oh, youths are not going to allow the youths to have this NSAS protest again. Not saying the content actually reads, oh, we understand the plight of the people and we'll do our best to make sure that an occurrence of the NSAS doesn't happen again. We would not wait till it gets to that point. So first and foremost, let's fall to the headlines.
Daniel, the truth about it is that if we, I'm joining the youth now.
Yes.
If we do not take a stand to tell them what we mean by NSAS, Daniel, they have changed the narrative of the NSAS. Now you can see from the tone of this document, of this information, they have now made NSAS something that has to do with police insecurity, banditry, and all that. Look at all the things we've been hearing about, how they have frozen people's accounts, arrested people and all that. So they have turned NSAS into something else. And that is why they have, that boldness to say, what's the caption now? How we will prevent another NSAS protest.
But okay, I think that this is from the press. I don't think this has to do with the government or presidency. I think it's president.
Well,
trying to use this headline
I
to
know,
make
I
waves.
I know the press will always have a way of packaging, but look at the content. If you look at the content, read between the lines of the content. What I expect to hear based on this NSAS is the fact that yes, we understand the content of NSAS and we will ensure that the issues raised by the youth, we will be looked into it, and then we will call on the youth to come in a stakeholders meeting and all that. But now look at what they have done. They are now talking about police. They're now talking about security. Where they're now talking about enhancing their police equipment and all that. Is that what we are saying for NSAS? Let's get it right. NSAS is different. NSAS says that we want to stop police brutality. That is what they should be saying. Not,
equipping the police.
There are two different things entirely.
Those are fundamental
you
things
understand?
for the police.
There are two different things. And that's my own point.
I understand your point of view, but I think that even in any message, whether be presidency or person to person, there needs to be whether should it pre-communication until a point is gotten, especially when the point is very important. Which week was it? Maybe last week when we're talking about how the whole NSAS thing message was just dwindling because people thought, anyways, because of the aftermath and so on and so forth. So this particular headline and this story, I actually understand it to a particular extent, and maybe it's just the view I see it from. I see it as a move from the way they understand it. Now we can do some
don't forget that we're dealing with very intelligent politicians.
I'm telling you.
Yes, I know.
Highly intelligent.
They have changed that narrative, and we should get back that narrative.
Highly intelligent.
But if we see the content, we will see that at least from the discussion. I hope it's not lip service. We see, there's empathy for the youth. We understand where you're coming from, and we want to do this, that, and that. I believe also equipping
the police to fight insecurity. That is not NSAS in Kichi. We need to let them know. NSAS, we are saying. Have you been listening to the panel? The various evil, crime, wickedness. Yesterday we talked about a 3-year-old girl, a 3-year-old child, that almost maybe 8 mothers have shown up that it is their own. And she's saying that, look, it is my own. They sold this baby for 8 million. And then you see the SARS people, they took custody of the child into an orphanage and they are making money. You understand? So many evil, so many crime and all that. That is what we are saying. That is what the president should be talking about.
I understand our point of view, and of course, I'm totally for it.
Not change the subject.
They were trying to come from a good place. It is possible that it was totally misinterpreted. I do not want to believe that it was something that was intentionally just deceptively communicated just to move us away from our goal. However, I'm glad about the panel. I'm glad about the conversation that continually goes on so that we can keep realigning what our message is. This is something we still spoke about either last week or last 2 weeks when it was kind of like dwindling. It was something else that it was dwindling onto. I'm saying this whole NSAS thing. And it would continue to dwindle. So we need to continue to
let's get the comments of people this morning. The phone line, the text and WhatsApp line is 070-317-56537. Get your comments on this particular headline. You can read up the stories on the Nation newspaper this morning. All right, let's talk about the Trade Union Congress. Fuel price hike resolves to impoverish Nigerians. This is coming in from the Trade Union Congress, has condemned the government for the hike in fuel price and electricity tariff, calling it a resolve to further impoverish Nigerians. The statement signed by its President Kadri Olaleye and the Secretary General Musa Lawal Ozigi, the union expressed shock at this hike despite understanding reached at the last meeting between the organized labor and the federal government. The statement said the TUC is surprised that despite efforts made by the organized labor in the last meeting with the federal government on hike in fuel price and electricity tariff, the latter has resulted in further impoverish Nigerians with the recent increase. This is one increase too many indeed, a violation of all understanding we've had with the government. The statement recalled that its meeting with the union, the government had appealed to the subsidy removal to prevent the economic collapse and massive job loss, adding that they had agreed holding on to the monologue. It said that if the government claimed to have deregulated the downstream sector of the oil and gas, which of course is subsidy removal, the independent oil marketers are importing petrol at their own cost. Information at our disposal, however, is that no independent marketer is importing fuel because they cannot access dollars. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is still holding on to that monologue. How do we balance this? First and foremost, go back to when the federal government, October 7, when they reached an agreement, Nigerian labor reached a 7 hours meeting into the midnight when the strike was supposed to start. NLC reached an agreement with the federal. 2 weeks has been elapsed. It's already a month. 6 weeks already. This is November. So this is 6 weeks already. Add all this together. Is this what is the motive behind not fulfilling the agenda that has been put forward?
Okay. Daniel, I don't know how to answer that question, Daniel. That is the body language. They will tell you A. Meanwhile, when you check, it is C. And why? I mean, I think it was yesterday, somebody was mentioning that what is Labour saying now? Is Labour quiet that the government relent on their on the on their
Of
on,
course.
on the negotiations,
Yeah.
on the agreements, and now we are keeping quiet. Whatever. I mean, we're not buying it at that new price, and it's like, hey, what is happening? Nothing is happening. So for us is, we keep saying these things, but it's as if what we are saying for the deaf ear of the government, and it is so sad. Look at the commentary on this now. You said you have deregulated. That means you have removed subsidy. Okay, that means that independent marketers can go, and import. But meanwhile, you're insane. So why? That dollars that you are giving, why can't you say, okay, upon request, based on each independent whatever request, and we'll grant it to you. So even if it's just 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many of them. Let us even see. Maybe, and I also know that the price will go down because market forces will come. But now that you have now monopolized it in such a way that it's only NNPC that you are funding the dollars. These are things that I want to believe that the government is trying to say, look, we do not want the truth to be known, but we just have to get to know the truth, to know exactly what the government is doing, and we will need to talk about it.
Okay.
This is not right.
For me, when I saw the headline, I was just wondering, okay, so what exactly is going to be my comment on this? Because I know how many back and forth we had, newspaper headlines back to back on this particular subject, and then it comes to this. So it's really, it is sad.
Okay.
It is sad, and what I would just do is just to encourage the union. I don't really know where they are right now. Maybe the newspaper is not carrying their current stance, but to keep talking about this, make this what is possible for NNPC, make it for other private people as well, since this whole since the subsidy removal and all that is what we're experiencing right now. So
all right,
that's just my stance.
Let's take some text and WhatsApp. One of them already. I'm trying to see which I'm going to take first. Let me start with Rosa and Jemutu in Alakbar. Said it is now obvious that the current political parties and politicians in the country have nothing to offer but the cross-carpeting that just took place. The protesters should use their head in 2023 and call back or impeach whoever is due. I hope the John Trekkers that trek for PMB was not compensated from the state coffers. If that happens, it is a shame on the Nigerian leaders. All right, Rosen Jamutu sending in that message. It's unfortunate that Umari, who is one of the major beneficiaries of PDP leadership, has left the party. It didn't too much surprise me because that is our politicians' hobby, political hustlers. Yes, Boko Haram has been degraded. I agree with APC. Those cause that are killed every day are spirits, and the killings are okay. I said I'm still in a big surprise that the electricity tariff had increased 44 units for 1,000 naira to 18 units for 1,000 naira. Lagosians are not saying or doing anything about it. So you mean that we'll just leave this thing in this manner? Okay, God day. They say is always a poor man's prayer. Okay, God day. They say is always a poor man's prayer. Mark Ikeja. Akin in Ikorodu says Buhari is just a ceremonial president, so we are not surprised about his comment on NFAS yesterday. He won't do anything on yesterday. He won't do anything. All years, what has happened with all the promises he made in 2015. Many greedy politicians are the problems of Nigeria. See what federal government is doing to ASU. We must never ever neglect with a bad leadership. For the government to ask for people, what do you want, is a terrible and sick question to ask. Why are they in politics? No issue has taken so long, like the NSAS issue, that tells you the government is really scared that they are losing their greedy power. So they will use any means to retain power. That's why they want to regulate social media. If possible, ban it. This is coming from Akin in Ikorodu. It says the uterus that will take up to 8 weeks is now 8 weeks now to be ready. Federal government supposed to be more transparent and sincere to us that they want to move ASU University funding to next year's budget instead of keep deceiving us. This is coming from Excel in Ogun State. All right, South meeting. Note that household enemy, blood-related enemy is the most dangerous and deadly enemy to overcome. Those ministers like Rotimi Silva are in collaboration with those in Aso Rock. So the Niger Delta issue is always a divide and rule. I would also advise your analysts to always uh, go back to our knees and pray for Nigeria. Do not always believe what is coming in on the papers. Dan, follow up my write up. You will definitely see the end of the government before it ends. By now, all youths must have come back in full force because it is not one person or 10 that protested. We must defend each other as citizens. All right, fuel increase, labor is aware, so they should stop deceiving us. Else, they should do the needful. Check the cost of fuel in the US and Nigeria and to that of Nigeria yourself. Well, definitely we can't compare the price of fuel in other parts of the world to here. Even cost of living, we can't. There's so many things that can make us compare the cost of fuel price because it takes a place like London, for example, or maybe New York to be precise. You have train, you before you think of going out with your car. Going out with your car to a large extent might be it's a good thing to do, but when you have to drive,
even the system works.
the system works
You know,
in a
you
way
know,
that
you cannot go to bed hungry.
The school
So
system,
the system works. There's a system there in place.
all right. Monday, okay, in Arepo says the story of the prodigal son will repeat itself with Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State come 2023 presidential elections. You are not the choice for the position. You are just hungry for not get, what would not get ever. I don't really get this part of your message, Monday. All right. Timo Brown in K2 says, abrupt cancellation of the proposed meeting with stakeholders from the Niger Delta by the president. I have to say it now that the history. They have turned the Minister of Information to that of misinformation. From Garba Shehu to Femi Adesina, they keep passing wrong information and later denying all that they have said. They should all be sacked. That's coming in from Timo Brown in K2. All right. Good morning, newspaper. Please, is it true that you read that 12 police officers did myself? It's on the Pen Pushing. The Pen Pushing is an online media. You can check it out. Yes, penpushing.org. Yeah, you can check it out. Mr. Wale in Peace Estate, Barua. All right. How do you end SARS without first investing in the police? How do you end SARS without increasing the remuneration of the police? The president is spot on with his speech. The only way to end SARS is to invest in the police so as not to have a repeat of the end SARS protest, so it won't occur again. This is coming from Ezekiel in Ikeja. All right, says good morning to you in the studio. If Nigerian federal government refused to do the needful now, or maybe if all Nigerians is killed, what are they waiting? Why are they waiting to record deaths? They should say sorry now. All right. At this Shino Wasiu in Ikorodu. All right. I'm gonna take a pause on the messages and come back to them. 070-317-56537. 24 minutes to 9 on Women Radio 91.7, and we're still gonna take you through on some of the headlines here this morning, and we go straight to ASU. Let's talk ASU for a moment. Latest update from ASU says no end to varsity teachers strike, says ASU's coordinator. This is on the Nation newspaper. It says there is no end in sight to the lingering varsity teachers strike. The Academic Staff Union of Universities said through his Abuja zonal coordinator, Professor Theophilus Lagi, on Tuesday. He attributed the decision was not to suspend the 8-month-old job boycott was due to alleged lack of commitment on the part of the federal government. Lagi spoke to news conference in Abuja. President Buhari on Tuesday urged the striking lecturers to return to the classrooms. The president gave the order at the 72nd Foundation Day Convention ceremony of the University of Ibadan, Oyo State, represented by the Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Abubakar Rashid. The president described as unacceptable the prolonged disruption of the academic calendar of public universities. The disruption of the calendar is as a result of strikes by university-based union, particularly members of the Academic Staff Union. The president said in the Abuja zone under Lagi, the Federal University of Technology, Mina, Nasarawa State University, Kefi Ibrahim Babangida University, Federal University of Lafia, and the University of Abuja. Now, according to him, the strike had been since February because the government has not shown commitment or willingness towards addressing the union's core demands for students to resume. He reminded members of the union of the advice to seek other legitimate means of survival, as the government has not released salaries withheld since February 2020. Now, there's a lot to still look into, but how do we ensure that this doesn't go with us into 2021? These kids have been at home for too long, 8 months and counting. If somebody was pregnant, she will be due for delivery in another 1 month. So this is a whole session, because a session is about 8 months. A session is about 8 months. So a whole session has been wasted, and private schools in this country have progressed. These lecturers have not been paid since February 2020. They have can we say solutions, or what compromise on the part of ASU right now? Because if ASU is saying the government has not been able to, there's lack of commitment on the part of the government. But we have to also now begin to look at, you've kept these kids at home. We know coronavirus has kept them at home for a pretty long time. The coronavirus has just made it look like it's not been that long, because no parents definitely allowed their child out there when the pandemic was on. Every parent, even schools were shutting down. Everybody, let's say, but now there's a little bit of normalcy that is returning. Some schools, private schools, have started asking their come back into the school environment, but that's not the same for our public university.
First of all, I'm trying to, I don't know, I hope I'm not missing this story. Is this the same story that's actually, with the whole IPPIS thing? I just want to, because I know
Yes.
we've been taking it even before the lockdown. So for me, I believe that the students, if they have not already started, should start to talk, because the ASU and the governments, they've been dragging for a while before Corona, during Corona, and of course now we have it still dragging. And to be honest, if we don't find a solution to this before the end of November, December is going to come with festivity and people are going to get distracted. And before you know, we are back again to newspaper headlines in 2021. So for me, I think this is the point where the students should come in to do some form of advocacy for what they are tired of seeing. So we need to see the students begin to speak up at this particular point in time. That way, there may be, most likely will be some form of pressure on the government to do what is needful for us to move forward from where we are. Because honestly speaking, we've had this newspaper review episode spoken about like 101 times from where we are. Because honestly speaking, we've had this newspaper review episode spoken about like 101 times, and it just looks like, oh, it's the same thing in a different way. It's the same thing in a different way. And the people suffering the most, these people have gotten their certificates. The people suffering the most are the students. So I believe that the students should start speaking up now. Hashtags, whatever it is they want to be heard. We can see that this method, so that the government will know that, hey, we are not just going to sit down and neglect the youths that are going to come to take our position tomorrow, and of course at the future for our country, Nigeria.
Let me get Buki's thoughts on the
yes,
ASU
Daniel,
and
thank
federal
you.
government.
The picture that came to my mind was, I witnessed when the minister was talking, and honestly, my heart broke. And why did it break? It was, how will a minister be talking like this to the major stakeholders of education? Does he understand the importance of education to a nation, to nation building? These are future minds. If you look at the proportion of people in the public university and weigh it with private, I mean, you can't quantify it. You understand? You can't. And let them look at the overall effect of what they are doing. In fact, if it's even trauma, you can imagine are doing. Some of them cannot even afford, and they Some of them will have probably other things, that education is not even in their minds anymore. Well, thank God for the kind of youth we have, that I know a lot of them will have dipped their hands into creative things and things like that. But the issue is, why can't, for every issue, you've got to come on the negotiation table, and the two parties, it must always be a win-win situation. It cannot be a win-lose. It must be a win-win. Honestly, if you really ask me, yes, I agree with you. Students should begin to talk, not just students, but elders in the land, fathers in the land. Influencers to the government. They should begin to talk. Even the so-called our law, they should begin to talk. They should begin to pressurize, because it looks as if the executive is not doing anything. It's like, well, you either take it or not. We need to get to a point where we will now look at these issues. What are the issues going? Okay, you have talked about UTAS. You said you need 8 months. In fact, for me, my heart is bleeding. You are saying that 8 months okay, fine. Let us even give you the 8 months. Now you're now saying that the hardware. I am wondering, what is the hardware? Except maybe I don't understand though. There is hardware for IPPS now. Is it not servers? Right. Is it not, the ICT things? You understand? Why can't you use that? I don't know. Maybe there is something else again. I really don't understand what it means by hardware, that who is going to fund it. For me, I think it's a stupid question. I'm sorry to say. You understand that who is going to fund it? Fund it for what? You funded IPAS. I'm sure there was an hardware for it. So why can't you use that? But the issue is that apart from that, salaries, they are asking for what is their right. Universities are supposed to be funded. If you go through all the public universities, they are glorified secondary school. I'm telling you, in terms of infrastructure, that is what the lecturers are asking for, apart from their salary. Do them good. But the truth about it is that let us now make a balance. The students have been at home for 8 months. Now you are now saying that, I don't know, maybe it's the common saying of everybody in ASU, but now you are now saying that lecturers should begin to look for alternative means of survival. So you are now saying that you are not even ready to do anything. I think it's time that both parties should come to the negotiation table and do a win-win. Let the lecturers shift, and let the government also shift.
Students are being considered in this.
They are not
because
considered.
It just looks like we're just having discussions.
You understand? They are not. They're not considered.
It's
So
really
and let the students also begin to talk. You understand?
Yeah,
let parents also begin to talk. And like I said, let the elders, let the fathers of the land, let them begin to talk. You understand? Let everybody begin to talk. Okay. Then the lecturers can now begin to shift position.
With a timeline and deadline.
They need to shift. They need to shift.
All right, let's take some more headlines. It's 9:15 on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Do want to keep the message coming in on 070-317-56537. Pidasa in Ogun State says, we know that all is not well in Aso Rock. If anyone says he does not know, it is either he or she is a child or a pretender. We should not complain of issues emanating from Aso Rock, knowing fully well that the cabals are in control and not Buhari. So South should know better. Pidasa in Ogun State. All right, take another WhatsApp message here. Makandi Nikoi says, do Nigerians know that Buhari and his government are not interested in the development of this side of the divide? Their interest is that Nigeria should continue to coexist because they have succeeded in turning the southern mineral resources as their ATM. Somebody who is not educated cannot encourage education. All right. This is coming in from Makandi in Ikoyi. All right. The next headline we want to take is with regards to the opening of the international flights to resume in Port Harcourt, Enugu, Kano before Christmas. This is coming in from the international flight. This is coming from the federal government made the announcement that all flights resume before December 25th. He also says he also lifted the flight ban from Air France, some Qatar Airways, are thereby paving way for them to resume the operation in and out of the country. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, explained in a statement yesterday that the ministry liaised with all relevant authorities to ensure that the airports and international airlines meet all safety requirements. Sirika, in a statement by the ministry's Director of Public Affairs, James, said that all international flights in the country may resume international flights before the end of the year, as the ministry is working with the Federal Ministry of Health. CDC is also saying that we should be preparing for a second wave. Do you think the opening of international flight across all major airports, Kano, Port Harcourt, Enugu, it's a good decision to make? Because another headline on the Punch paper talks about governors seek additional help, UN help with regards to COVID-19. The Nigerian Governors Forum on Tuesday asked the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Nigeria, Amina Mohammed, to facilitate additional assistance to states in their bid to deal with the economic consequences of COVID-19. Opening our airports, we know that Christmas time is when a lot of people fly in from all over the world to the country, Nigerians from all over the world. And all over the world, these countries are still battling coronavirus than the way Africa is battling it.
Well, the question I'm even asking myself that, okay, even if they don't open it up, and if truly from their own, I don't see how, but looking at what they have, from past experiences, that there is a second wave. Even if you don't open the airports, is the second wave not going to happen? Is the second wave not going to happen? Though, like I said, I think my own position is we should not allow the second wave to happen. That's my said. I think my own position is we should not allow the second wave to happen. That's my own position. So I believe that, for them to have opened it up, they will have looked at everything. Most of all the countries outside also, they've opened up their own. Trade has to go on, economic activities have to go on, people have to go on with their lives, you understand? Quite a lot of things were, and then of course revenue, income, people have to work. So they must have looked at everything to say, okay, let's open it up. But at the same time, they also have to have their eyes on the fact that we cannot afford to let a second wave come in, or even an increase. Let us even look at the second wave, an increase in COVID-19, because already we are still recording. We are still recording every day, But
Okay.
then for me my own concern is I hope they are not just telling us this and not doing it, to ensure that all the protocols are there. The people coming in, they are certified, and when they get here also, they should also see them that they are certified. Go through the protocols properly, and also ensure that the people coming in, maybe for genuine reasons, you understand?
Okay.
And then if it can be curtailed, you understand? I really don't know. Then of course, even when they come in here, can they appeal to them that they should limit, their interference with people? And then we also, I think it's also time we begin to talk the use of our face masks in public places,
Yes.
health hygiene, increase it. This is the time that we must talk and bombard, the airwaves.
I
But
think that-
also,
okay.
just to add to what you're saying, now that they're opening this international flight, I hope people are aware of the fact that what you're going to do is you're going to be conducting 4 coronavirus tests.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
what it
it.
means.
Yeah,
4
that's
coronavirus
it.
tests. From the country you're coming from,
Yes.
you take one. You get to Nigeria, you take one.
Yeah.
You're going back, you take
That's
one.
it.
You get there, you take one.
That-
And
absolutely.
the cost
Well, yeah.
the cost of
It's borne by them.
Mm.
So you have to look at it. Do I really need to come
travel?
in? Exactly. So
Yes.
if I don't, yeah.
And well, in my own opinion, countries that, for example, I know that Ukraine, as an example, they are going into another lockdown if they've not even started it already. Countries that feel as if a second wave or a third wave or whatever wave is an emergency to them are not opening their airports, their borders, and so on and so forth. But if it's something that we can walk around with, if it's something that we feel is priority to us in terms of trade, economic activity, then let's us know that is our priority, and let us know that there could be some consequences. I'm glad for the 4 corona tests that people are going to do. I just hope that there's not some sort of corruption where people can bypass it, because I know people have complained about the price of doing those particular things. So of course we can have people who want to bribe through and just pass through. So I hope that they can keep an eye on that. But it's as simple as that. If the second wave is as priority as you want people to take it, the truth is some places like your airport and all that just have to be locked down for a little more. You're going to, of course, have some consequences in your economic parts of the country. However, if the economic part of your country is more important, then not give for a little bit of a bit, should I say, slide in of a possible second wave.
But if they've been sincere at the airport, if they are
No, if
100%
they are
sincere at
being
the
sincere.
airport,
Yeah.
then there's a lot of possibilities that
Yeah.
we might not see a second
Yeah.
wave. Everybody will be held
In fact, what we
And
should
if
be doing
citizens are
that,
serious about believing what the government are even saying, in all honesty.
You say my own is truly from history. There's always the first, the second.
Okay.
So they are looking at it, they are looking at the figures. So that's why they are saying there's a possibility. But my own take is we have experts in there. Let them make sure that no second wave occurs.
Okay.
And you see, another thing that I think they have looked at it to open it. If they don't open it, Daniel, they'll still be coming through Lagos. Still be coming
But I
through
think
Lagos.
there's also
You
a lot for
understand?
us to do as individuals, not to be
Yes.
selfish. Because when we look at because somebody was supposed to, a friend was supposed to come in from the UK, and he was, I'm still even trying to make my findings properly to be sure that when after you do the test and you test negative, are they the ones quarantine the individuals for 2, or you are actually just quarantine yourself for 2 weeks after you come into the country?
I'm not too sure.
I'm still trying to make my findings on that. But Grandma Olayinka says, what additional help are the governors asking for? It is not for the masses. So that was all she had to say, because the governors are saying they still need some additional help. The economy is actually a little, not a little, everywhere around the world there's, and this is why we must do our part to ensure we stay safe. We've seen other countries open their borders, closed back again, close down the economy second time. And the coronavirus has a totally different feel on the world. I don't think anybody existing on planet Earth right now has had a feel of it before. So it's important that we all stay safe wherever we are.
Another point that I also want to make is the visa granting. I think they need to look at, I'm sure they will have. I mean, by the time you are granting visa, I mean, you need to know what exactly are you coming to do in Nigeria. If it's not so cogent, you can deny them. I mean, that's another avenue.
People want to come for Christmas.
I mean, that's another avenue.
People want to come for Christmas to party and see their family and friends.
Yes, I mean, those ones, I mean, yes, they will.
And that's a good point, but will they be as detailed?
Yeah.
Are they going to carry? It's one thing to start a thing, it's another thing to continue.
And then when they come in here, even for your own sake, maybe you should just stay in your house for 2 weeks, and then the family to stay off them for 2 weeks. I mean, these are measures that they can begin to educate people.
All right, this is where we call the newspaper review to a wrap this morning, and we'll be doing this again tomorrow morning at exactly 8 o'clock. And yes, on the other side of 9 o'clock is going to be the big question, and the big question this morning, the conversation on the big question at exactly 9:15, it's positioned in Nigeria's manufacturing and agricultural sector for global competitiveness. Do well to be part of that conversation on the other side of 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, Buki Femi Ajala and Nkechi Manilade Signal for being on the program with me. All right.
We are WFM 91.7, the voice of women, using radio as a tool for women development. We condemn the abuse of women, girls, and children in any shape or form. WFM 91.7, the voice